Okay, this is rather interesting. In the Midjourney office hours this week, someone posed the question to the CEO of Midjourney, David. They said, "Is it true that you have hyperphantasia?" And he kind of nonchalantly said, "Yeah." So, of course, I wasn't really familiar with that term. I suppose I had heard of that word or something similar. And I looked it up, and it basically means someone who has an extremely vivid and immersive imagination. And I've always seen my imagination as sort of a superpower. I've known that it's really strong. My imagination is strong. I never called it special because I didn't think it was special. I really think that everybody has access to it in some way or another. And that may have been naive because it turns out that's not true at all, especially when there's a term called aphantasia, and that is basically the lack of a visual imagination. People just kind of can't see in their mind's eye. They think in terms of words and topics, not necessarily imagery. I know it's kind of ironic to say, but that's really hard to imagine. I don't know what that would be like. I almost don't believe them when they say they can't see things in their head. It just doesn't that doesn't make sense to me, but I suppose seeing things in your head doesn't make sense to them. So that's either here nor there. But I have been curious since the other day, like, do I have hyperphantasia? Is there a scientific term for my imagination? Again, I never thought I was special. And to be honest, I never thought I had a good imagination. Like, I really always assumed other people had better mental imagery. And I think that comes from the idea of, when you hear someone has a photographic memory, I have no idea what that would be like. I do not have a photographic memory. My memory is quite dreamlike. And I thought that applied to imagination as well, where if someone has photographic memory, well, then someone definitely can imagine things more clearly than I can. But then I looked up a little Hyperphantasia quiz, or like a little way to test yourself. And I think I do have it. I mean, let me just go through a little bit of it now. In fact, I just asked ChatGPT first if it knew what hyperphantasia was, and then if it could give me a small quiz to test whether I have it or not. So let's start at the beginning. Do you know what hyperphantasia is? ChatGPT. Yes, hyperphantasia is a term that refers to an extremely vivid and immersive imagination, or visual imagery. People with hyperphantasia can conjure up images, sounds, and sometimes even tactile or other sensory experiences in their mind with incredible clarity and detail. It's like the opposite of aphantasia, where individuals cannot voluntarily produce visual images in their mind. Those with hyperphantasia often report being able to see or experience their thoughts in high definition, sometimes to the point where it almost feels real. Now, a few things in there make me think I don't have it. I don't believe I have. Let me put it this way. When I hear that, I get the sense that other people can have like a clear 30 seconds developed in their mind, and then they can walk around a very clear and high detailed room at any point, and they can visualize every single part of the room at once. Whereas in my mind, it feels much more like 99% of the room is peripheral vision, but I can focus on individual objects when they're mentioned. Like, if you think of a library, can you see all the books on the shelf? Okay, I can. But I felt that other people could see the individual titles of the books all at once. I don't know if that's true. What I can do is focus on an individual book when it's called for. Like, you want me to tell you what the third book looks like? I can focus my lens into that third book and see what it says. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Probably not. Honestly, it probably doesn't make any sense, but that's how I would describe it. So I said, can you give me a small quiz to test whether I have it? And it said, certainly. However, it's important to note that this quiz is not a definitive diagnostic tool, but rather a brief exploration to help you reflect on your own experiences. There are 5 questions. Would you like to complete this quiz with me? That'd be kind of fun. You can let me know where you are on this scale and if we have any similarities. I do suspect that anybody listening to this might be closer to my experience than not, but I could be wrong. So here we go. Question 1. When you think of an apple, how clearly can you see it in your mind's eye? And it's multiple choice. So A, not at all. B, vaguely or just the idea of it. C, clearly but not in great detail. Or D, extremely clearly as if looking at a real apple. What do you think? If I hadn't had the multiple choice in front of me, I would say clearly but not in great detail. But as soon as I see the option for extremely clearly as if looking at a real apple, I can again, focus my lens and zoom in on the apple, and I can see the apple really clearly. I mean that as soon as the option is given to me to focus more closely, I'm like, oh yeah, I can zoom in, I can see the brown spot, I can see the stem, I can see the sticker, I can flip the apple upside down, I can see it on my counter, I can see it on my kitchen table. Seeing it in my hand is a little tougher. No, I can do that. But again, I feel like I see it in a dreamlike sense, where I can see it for a split second. I don't have the apple over time. I don't have it in a 4D environment. I have it in a 3D environment that I can change the look of every time I need to. And I don't know if that's the same thing. I don't know if hyperphantasia means you can watch an apple wither over a day in your mind. I don't know. And I suppose that everybody on any part of the scale cannot imagine what the rest of the scale looks like. In the same way that you can't imagine what it's like to be a genius. I have no idea what it's like to be a super smart person. I see how they act and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know what that feels like. I don't know what it feels like to be a gymnast and have that much control of your body. And to be fair, smart people don't know what it's like to be not as smart, and gymnasts don't know what it's like to have difficulties with their body. Everything is relative, and I think that's really important to remember, because I feel like we often assume that other people will know what we're talking about. And that's just not true. There's no reason for it to be true. Everybody really lives a different life, even though we're all humans. And I think that's cool that the human experience can be played under very different settings. And since we have no control over those settings, I think we have to, take it easier on each other. We're not playing with the same rules, clearly. Question number 2, details. Imagine a beach. Can you picture the individual grains of sand, the ripples of the water, and the details of the seashells? She sells seashells down by the seashore. It's a little tough. Okay, A. No, I can't visualize such details. B. I can think about them, but can't see them clearly. C. I can see them somewhat clearly. And D. I can see them in vivid, intricate detail. So for me, at the start of the question, imagine a beach. That is a very hazy picture for me. I can see the idea of a beach. I can see the sand. I can see the shore, and I can see the water. But what really trips me up is that as the question continues, can you picture the individual grains of sand? Immediately I can. I'm holding them in my hand and I can see them all. The ripples of the water, yes, I can see the foam. I could picture throwing a rock and bloop, bloop. I can see the ripples. I can picture being in the water and the details of the seashells. Yeah, I can see the seashell. But I could only do those things when they're prompted. Maybe I'm an AI. No, that's really the thing. I don't know if hyperphantasia corresponds with prompting. As soon as those things were mentioned, yes, I could load them into my mind. But I didn't necessarily have them loaded just at the start of the question. Imagine a beach. I couldn't clearly find pictures of the grains of sand. I couldn't find the seashells. I couldn't find the ripples of water until they were mentioned. And I don't know if other people experience that the same way. I really don't know. And then just explaining that really makes me think, am I imagining it, or am I just loading previous experiences of having seen those things? Is that the same thing as imagination? Probably not. I feel like imagination is seeing something that has never existed, or a combination of two things that have existed to create something new. It's tough to say. Like, can I picture a seashell? Yes, but have I just seen that shell before? And that's what I'm imagining? I don't know. Question 3, sensory immersion. If you think of being at a concert, can you hear the music, feel the vibration, and sense the crowd around you? A, no, I just know the idea of being at a concert. B, I can somewhat sense it or feel it, but it's faint. C, it's like reliving a memory, somewhat immersive. D, it's as if I'm actually there, experiencing it anew. I think I'm on the border of C and D. It is like reliving a memory, kind of how I just explained the seashell thing. Yes, I can hear the music, I can feel the vibration. Actually, hearing the music's a little tougher. No, I can hear it for like a split second. Very short 3D snapshots. The 4D of reliving a full concert over time, that's tough, but is that just a memory issue? I don't know. But in terms of feeling the vibration and sensing the crowd around me, it's as if I'm actually there. I can feel the vibration of being there. I could feel being in the water. I can feel the water going up to my knees. I can feel it going up to my thighs. I can feel it hitting my lower back and being so cold, and you're like, oh, that's awful. But are those just reliving memories? Or it's as if I'm actually there, experiencing it anew? That's a really tough thing to parse. I don't know the difference. Would you have to imagine a new concert, one that you haven't seen? I don't know. Question 4, 2 more to go. Can you change elements of your visualizations? For example, turning the apple from red to green or changing the time of day at the imagined beach. A, I don't visualize things. B, it's hard to change details. C, I can change some elements with effort. Or D, I can easily alter any part of my visualizations. I'd have to say I can easily do it, but again, only when prompted. When it said, could I turn the apple from red to green? Yeah, no problem. I'll turn it back to red. I could turn it into an orange. It's super easy for me to do that. It really feels just like in painting, if I'm talking future tech kind of words, you know? And can I change the time of day at the beach? That one seems to be a little harder, but I can picture nighttime really well. Sunset, no, I can do it. I can do it. Like, again, without the prompt, it is a little difficult, but as soon as I said the words nighttime, easy. As soon as I thought of sunset, yeah, okay, I can see the sunset. But I get the feeling that other people can do it better than me. Like, it just feels like there's no way I'm at the 99 percentile of hyperphantasia. I just have to imagine that other people can see their visualizations over a longer period of time, that they can see 10 seconds of an environment when I'm at like 2.5 to 3 seconds. Again, I could be wrong. I don't know. Where are you in all of this? Is what I'm saying sound insane to you? Can you change the color of the apple from red to green? Can you make it a color that doesn't exist? Can you make the apple blue? But I've seen a blue apple. Can you make the apple rainbow? It is a little tougher. I really do. But I can still kind of do it. But have I just seen a rainbow apple somewhere? Like, you know, am I just recalling memories and placing them in the scene like a bunch of assets that I have somewhere in my mind? Is that all hyperphantasia is? I don't know. Question 5. Intensity. When daydreaming or recalling a memory, does it sometimes feel almost as real as the actual experience? A. No, my thoughts feel very distant from reality. B. Rarely and they're faint. C. Sometimes, especially if it's a strong memory. Or D. Often my visualizations or memories can be just as intense as the real thing. Honestly, I think my thoughts are very distant from reality in terms of the fact that I know they're not in reality. They don't exist yet. That's how I would describe it. But then, okay, I think there's a big distinction there. Visualizations versus memories. I know my visualizations are different and far from reality because they don't exist yet, like I just said. But when I think of memories, I can feel memories quite vividly in a pretty intense way, I think, for sure. But I feel like everyone can do that. You know, the meme about laying awake at night and reliving your cringy moment from grade 3? Like, that sounds pretty normal to me. That seems like a pretty universal phenomenon. And again, this is just a GPT questionnaire that it made. It might be making this stuff up. I don't think it is, because I'm pretty sure this is the type of things you would ask yourself. I mean, I did a bit of a quiz on another website that was a little similar to this, so I don't think it's completely off. But nonetheless, here's what the results might say about you. If you have mostly A's, you may lean towards aphantasia or have a low visualization ability. Mostly B's. You have some visualization ability, but it might not be very intense or detailed. Mostly C's, you have a good ability to visualize, which is probably average for most people. Okay, that makes sense. Mostly D's, you have a very vivid imagination and might have hyperphantasia. It says, again, this is a very simplistic quiz and may not capture the full range and nuances of everyone's visualization abilities. If you're truly curious about your own abilities, there are more detailed tests and discussions available, and you might consider consulting a psychologist or neuroscientist for a more in-depth understanding. Yeah, probably not going to do that, but I still think it's interesting to place yourself somewhere on the timeline. And I don't see how I could be at the high end of things. I just feel like there are probably people who can visualize things better. But again, as soon as you prompt me to do something, I can see it. And I know this is just sort of anecdotal, but I've said this for a long time, like a really long time, like 15 years or more, that one of the reasons I've never been compelled to travel and go and see things and see places is because I have a really good imagination. I can picture what it's like. I can be on a beach in Greece without ever being on a beach in Greece. But is that just because I've seen pictures and depictions of what that's like and I'm just replaying it? Or is there a part of me that can really extrapolate everything I've learned and live an experience that I haven't actually lived? I don't know. I don't really see the difference. And I wonder where you are on that spectrum. Let me know.